Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for our first daily dose of Battlebond spoilers. So if you're not familiar with Battlebond, it is coming out very soon, and it is the new multiplayer focused product. It comes in boosters, kind of like filling in the conspiracy slot this year, so it's specifically designed for two-headed giant, a kind of a weird fringe team-up type format. However, a lot of the cards also work really well for multiplayer Commander. So if you're a Commander player, you're going to like these cards. Speaking of Commander, worth pointing out before we jump into the cards for our first day of Battlebond spoilers, that these cards are not legal in Standard. They're also not legal in Modern. So they're legal in casual play, obviously, like Commander or other casual formats. Also Vintage and Legacy, if that happens to work out. So as you're looking at these cards, don't think, oh man, that'll work great in my Standard deck, because they're not legal, same with Modern. Anyway, let's jump into our spoilers. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. Some rares, some mythics, some new mechanics, a super important reprint. So first off, we're going to start off with the land cycle from Battlebond, the rare land cycle. And that includes probably one of the best cycles for multiplayer Commander that Wizards has printed in many years, maybe ever. So Bountiful Promenade, Luxury Suite, Morphic Pool, also Sea of Clouds, Spire, Garden. These lands are super great because if you're playing 4-player Commander, they basically just always enter the battlefield untapped. If you have 2 or more opponents, they enter untapped, which means, sure, in the late game, if people start dying and getting out of the game, then they might enter tap. But for the most part, if you're playing 4-player Commander or even more player Commander, these are just untapped duels that you don't got to pay life for. You don't have the pain land thing, the shock land thing, anything like that. So I think if you were to rank the dual lands for Commander, they kind of fall into 2 camps, but I think that this cycle might be the 4th best cycle in all Commander. I think it goes fetch lands, dual lands, shock lands, then very likely this cycle, specifically for multiplayer Commander, and they're even more exciting than that. This cycle of lands might be the single best cycle of lands for multiplayer Commander on a budget. So if you're playing no budget and you got thousands of dollars to spend on your Commander deck, then you want to be fetching for shock lands and original dual lands. But if you don't have fetch lands, then these lands are just amazingly good, because the one downside of this cycle is they don't have the basic land type, so you can't tutor them up with your fetch lands. But that's not a downside if you're not playing fetch lands anyway, because they're so expensive. So I think you play these even if you have fetches, just because they're so much better than like pain lands, for example, in other like secondary duels. But if you're building on a budget without any fetch lands, this is just the best cycle period in Commander, right up there with the original dual lands, which are hundreds of dollars a piece. So super excited to see this Commander multiplayer support coming in Battlebond. Moving on, we have a new mechanic and some sweet new Planeswalkers, and the mechanic is Partner With. So Partner With is kind of like Partners, where you got 2 cards that go together. However, these cards, Rowan, Kenrith, Will Kenrith, and the rest of the Partner With cards we'll talk about, they only partner with each other. So first off, I'm super excited to see this twist on Partner, because Partner With anything that has Partner is pretty overpowered, and it'll be even more overpowered if Wizards just keeps printing more and more partners. There'll be more incidental synergies, more powerful stuff going on. So super happy to see this twist on the mechanic, because the partner mechanic is really sweet, but just partnering with any partner, pretty overpowered. As far as these cards in specific, apart from being partnered, which, oh yeah, means something very specific I should have mentioned. If you cast one of these cards, you get to tutor for the other one from your library. If you're playing with a teammate, you can also have your teammate, another player, tutor. You get to choose a target player. So that's kind of sweet. You can cast Will Kenrith and tutor up Rowan Kenrith to go alongside. Also, you can play them as your commander, so we have more Planeswalkers legal as your commanders. As far as how the cards work, they're kind of okay. It's really cool that you can play 2 Planeswalkers in your command zone, but their power level is kind of middling. So Will Kenrith gives you a little defense with your +2 by turning 2 creatures into creatures with no abilities, power and toughness of 0/3. The biggest ability and most powerful ability is a -2 that lets target player draw 2 cards, and then until your next turn, that player can cast instant sorceries or planeswalkers with a 2-mana discount, which means you can use Will to draw some cards. You already tutored up your Rowan, cast Rowan for only 4 mana. If you get an emblem, it's super awesome. You just copy all your instants and sorceries, really good. Rowan, on the other hand, makes you kind of mess with combat. +2, make target player player attack with all their creatures their next turn. -2, you can do it after you make the opponent attack and tap all their stuff to wipe out their board with like an Anger of Gods for tap creatures that target player controls. And then the emblem, also pretty sweet. Whenever you activate an ability that isn't a mana ability, you get to copy it. So I think that these cards are kind of middling in power level. 4 loyalties, not a lot. 6 mana is a lot, but I'm super excited for them because it's just really cool that you can have 2 Planeswalkers in your command zone. So if you're building an Izzet deck, consider using Will Kenrith and Rowan Kenrith as your commanders because it seems really fun. Next on our list, we got some more partners. Pure Imaginative Rascal and Toothy, Imaginary Friend. And this might be the cycle of partners that we got from Battlebond so far that I am most excited for Commander format, because it does stuff that's just really fun in the format. So Peer, basically, if it's on the battlefield, if one or more counters would be added to a permanent your team controls, so that's you if you're playing Commander, you or your teammate if you're playing Two-Headed Giant or some other team format, you get an extra counter on them. And then Toothy works well with that ability, since whenever you draw a card, you get a counter on it. If you got Peer, it's 2 counters, and when it leaves the battlefield, you draw a card for each counter on it, which can be a lot if you're doubling up the counters with Peer. So this is just a great build around commander, almost like Atraxa with the proliferate and adding more counters. This does something similar, and since they're legends and they're partnered, you can play them as your commanders and have them both in there. So I expect to see a lot of sweet Simic decks adding extra counters to things, going crazy with proliferate and doubling season and all that stuff, with Peer and Toothy leading the way from the command zone. We also got Virtuous the Veiled and Gorm the Great as partners, and these ones are a little bit different, but they do work pretty well together. So Gorm the Great got a big butt, has vigilance, and it must be blocked, and it must be blocked by 2 or more creatures if able, with a 2/7 with vigilance. On the other hand, Virtus the Veiled, a little bit smaller. 3 mana 1/1, does have Death Touch, but whenever it deals combat damage to a player, that player loses half of their life total rounded up. So the idea here is you get them both out, either by casting, let's say, Gorm and tutoring up your Virtus, or you just have them both in your command zone, but you get them out, you attack with Gorm, so your opponent has to block the Gorm, and then you sneak in the damage with the Arza Assassin to make your opponent lose half of their life. So if you're playing Commander, that means going from 40 all the way down to 20, or 20 all the way down to 10. And remember, it's rounded up, and the rounding up means it's technically possible to actually kill someone. If they're at 1 life and you hit with this, you'll round up that damage and they die. So you can actually kill someone with the life loss. So a pretty unique build-around pair in Gorm and Virtus. Be cool to see what happens with them in the Commander world. Interesting build around, really unique take on the partner with mechanic. Speaking of Battlebond and counters and expensive stuff, we're getting one of the sweetest reprints imaginable in this set, and that is Doubling Season. Doubling Season is like ultra staple in Commander, one of the top 30 green cards in the format, a great casual build around, even shows up in Modern on occasion in like the crazy Double Moonwalker deck. Basically, doubles up any tokens you would make, doubles up any counters that would go anything for 5 mana. The reason this is so exciting, apart from just being a really fun build around card, is that Doubling Season is ungodly expensive. It's like $70 now, and having this reprinted, even at Mythic, is going to help bring the price down, at least temporarily. So remember, Battlebond, $4 packs, not the $10 Master Set thing. So these are normally priced $4 packs, which means even at the Mythic rarity, prices are going to come down a decent amount. I'm sure it'll creep back up because this card is just so popular and so in demand, but super exciting to see a very chase Mythic show up in Battlebond. So if you're looking for some value out of your Battlebond packs, this is one of the cards you're hoping to open, because my guess would be this is one of, if not the most expensive card from the Battlebond set. Moving on, we got a bunch of stuff to show off mechanics. So one of the mechanics coming in Battlebond is Assist. And Assist basically means you can have another player pay part of your spell's cost. So take Play the Game, for example. 8 mana, exiles all non-land permanents, but it has an assist of 6. So in theory, you can pay the 2 white mana, and you can have one of your opponents, if you're playing Commander, or if you're playing Two-Headed Giant, your teammate, pay the other 6 mana. Or you can pay 4, they can pay 4, and kind of help each other cast the spell. So I love this mechanic, especially for Commander. In Two-Headed Giant, you're just having your teammate part of it. That's fine. It's spiky. It's still nice. In Commander, it's super sweet because these are like political weapons. Take Huddle Up, for example. Huddle Up, 2 target players draw 2 cards. I can be like, hey, Tomer, I don't have enough mana to cast this, or I need my mana for something else. I got a deal for you. If you pay the 2 mana, I'll pay the 1 mana. We can each draw 2 cards, help each other out. We can be friends. So I really love the political dynamics of these cards for the Commander format. Fan favorite, Charging Binocs, meh. Not exciting cards, but they do show off the assist mechanic. So love this mechanic for Commander. I love anything that just gets players interacting with each other. That's what Commander is all about, the banter and the fun and the interaction and the politics. And these cards do a great job at supporting that. Dwarven Lightsmith, just another assist card. It's fine. Counters on your team or your teammate's team as well. So, yeah, you know, I mean, I guess it's fine. I don't know if I would play it in Commander. It's a card that in Commander, I don't think your opponent's going to assist you with that. If you're like, hey, I want to play this and make my whole team bigger, will you give me some of your mana? The answer is probably no, unless there's a very weird situation going on, but still a cool assist card. Otherwise, we have a few more new cards. So one of the things about Battlebond is it's mostly reprints. I think there's 58 if I'm remembering right, new cards in the set, and then the rest are reprints. So we're not going to talk in depth about the reprints, outside of like the doubling season, really good ones, but we will talk about the new cards. So we got Pierre's Whim, which is kind of another mechanic card. The mechanic here, friend or foe. So when you cast it, you get to choose friend or foe for each player, and if you choose friend, they get to tutor for a land, put it on the battlefield tapped. If you choose foe, instead of getting a land, they have to sacrifice an artifact or enchantment. And this card is another just super fun card for Commander, being able to play the politics game, decide if you're friends or not, and either benefit everyone or kind of mess with everyone, or benefit some people to try to make a teammate while messing with other people. So the politics of friend or foe is just super great, and I'm super excited to see it played in Commander. Otherwise, Rushblade Commander, I guess if you're playing Warriors, it's pretty sweet. Gives all the Warriors on your team haste. If you're playing one player, just your Warriors. If you have teammates, well, then you're helping them out as well. So if you're building a Warrior Commander deck, I guess it's sweet. Soaring Show Off is kind of a sweet group hug card. You get a Windrake, a 3 mana 2/2 flying, enters the battlefield, each player draws a card. If you can keep flickering it somehow, everyone keeps drawing cards, so kind of a nice group hug style card. As far as the reprints, there's a lot of them. Did want to mention Expedition Raptor, not because it's a good card, because it's not, but support is the other returning mechanic in Battlebond, which works well with the multiplayer theme, the teammate theme. You can put counters on your creatures. You can put counters on your teammates' creatures, make them a little bit bigger. But otherwise, just a bunch of sweet commons and uncommons. Peregrine Drake at one point was banned in Commander. Fertile Ground for some ramp, etc., etc., etc. So anyway, those have been our daily Battlebond spoilers for today. So let me know what you think. How good is the land cycle in multiplayer Commander? Is it just the best lands we have, especially if you're not playing fetch lands? How about the partner commanders and the partners in general? What about the other mechanics? How excited are you for this the doubling season reprint? Are you gonna pick up copies now that the price will come down? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.